Hello there. I'm delighted to say that I'm here with my very good friend, Cameron John Robbins, the gentleman artist, and we are going to go through a series of Cameron's outstanding portraits of historical figures, modern and historic. And Cameron will talk about the portraits, what inspired them, about the individuals, the portraits themselves, how they came about. I will talk about them from a facial analysis perspective. So without further ado, let me bring up the first image to share. So moving on to Warren Buffett.
Yep, here we have Warren Buffett, and again, experimenting with a very, very unfinished style for this. I do like that unfinished style frequently because it does put so much emphasis on the face, which is the whole point of a portrait. Remarkable human being, very interesting, very intelligent. I love his philosophy towards investing, where he does his homework thoroughly and he only invests in businesses that he wants to hold on to for 20 or 30 years, which is a very opposite to the approach so many others take in market investing, where they want to get in and get out quick. They want to make a huge fortune overnight. They just want to follow the trends. They don't want to do their homework. And his methodical, thoughtful approach with an eye towards longevity of the investment and the value going forward, I think is tremendously admirable and worth emulating, not only in investment terms, but in everything in your life. You could approach our relationships in the same way. We can approach our educations in the same way. It's like, what do I want to do? What do I want the outcome to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now? Where am I headed? It's a very deep, invested approach to life. And at least in his case, we could infer that it is a very profitable approach.
Very much, yes. A very distinctive figure. There are definitely significant aspects there in your portrait, Cameron, I could focus on, but I'm going to go to a photograph and it'll follow on directly from what you've been saying about him. It's a little bit blurry, but there are a number of things that I particularly want to highlight. When you see somebody with long ears like that, and particularly very long fleshy lobes, this is somebody whose strategy and approach to life is about the long term. He does not do short term. He thinks ahead. And Buffett reminds me of the Iroquois Confederacy of, I think, 200 odd years ago, where when the elders would come together to think about a major decision, they would reflect on how it would impact on the next 7 generations. And Buffett is always somebody who thinks in terms of what will happen years and years and years down the road. Is this an investment just for now, or is it for the long term? And that's absolutely central to his approach, and it has been central to his approach really since the beginning of his time working with finance and working as an investor. So that's the first thing about Buffett. And the earlobe themselves, the earlobes are so long and so well developed, tells you that this is a man who has very, very good instincts. Very good instincts. We know, and again, we go back to the eyebrows. We can't see them so clearly here, but his eyebrows are pretty straight and relatively thick again. So this is a man for whom information is absolutely vital. We know as a young man, he went through book after book after book of financial reports, financial details. He absorbed the information. You can see the high forehead. So a man for absorbing information and then thinking in terms of how he can use it, storing it, and seeing how he can use it. But also then we notice his lips are particularly thin again. So with Buffett, head absolutely rules heart. And it's not to say that, not to imply that he's a cruel man, but head always wins over heart. It's just how it is. It's not a judgment, it's an observation. And you can begin to see it, you can begin to see it here, but his canines are actually relatively larger than his molars. And when you see the canines being larger, this is somebody who's naturally competitive. Now, we don't really think in terms of the, if you like, the affable, genial, stolid figure of Buffett as being competitive. But by God, he is competitive. So you should never underestimate that about him. He is most certainly competitive, and he is about winning.
Yeah. I mean, he is such an affable, grandfatherly figure in public, and almost cherub-like. He's just jolly and affable, and it reminds me of a phrase that I like quite a bit. Never mistake my kindness for weakness. Yeah. He might be a very good personification of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing, I don't think I've touched on it in any other images, but you notice these lines, deep furrows coming down from the corner of the mouth to the chin on both sides.
Yes.
They're an indication of deep, deep disappointment. So this is somebody who has experienced deep disappointment in his life, and which is significantly impacted. And that may have also partly to do with the lips being so thin, that he buries a lot of emotion. He doesn't do emotion really when it comes down to it. It's never been his style, even going back many years, to be particularly emotional. He likes things to just be essentially regular and undisturbed. So that's just part of who he is. Again, it's not a judgment, it's an observation.
Right. As somebody who considers himself to be a bit like that, just to clarify for anybody listening, it's like, it's not that such people lack emotions, but we mistrust them. At least as a guide of our lives. It's like, yeah, feelings are real because we really feel them, but they're highly subjective, they're highly changeable, they're frequently a terrible reflection of reality. And so using that as the guiding force of your life is very unstable. And so it's not a lack of emotions, it's a lack of trust in our emotions as something that's going to guide us rightly.